chased JM with her car into the garage where she crashed into the back and side walls and pinned JM.
The 23-year-old accused of killing her mother in Miami Township appeared in court. This isn't Anna Millett's first time in court. She served over 8 months in jail for felonious assault after attempting to run someone over with her car. There had been court proceedings leading up to that incident. Fast forward to the court appearance, where Millett now faces charges after police say she killed her mother, nearly ran over 2 officers, and led police on a chase that ended in a crash. Millett appeared emotional in the courtroom, but only expressed her emotions verbally when her bond was being set.
From the crashed motor vehicle and from the hospital as well.
I can't walk.
Given all of that, Your Honor, I would submit that a $5 million bond would be appropriate in this case.
In court, Millett was visibly emotional as prosecutors discussed the possibility of her fleeing if she were released on bond. At one point, she appeared to scream, "I can't walk," as they spoke. Despite her outburst, the bond was set at $5 million for Millett, who is accused of using her car to run down and kill her own mother. Prosecutors then went on to describe what allegedly took place during the tragic incident.
Video evidence exists of the defendant charging her vehicle through the yard, backing up and charging again at least 3 times. On that final charge, the defendant chased JM with her car into the garage where she crashed into the back and side walls and pinned JM.
During the hearing, the prosecutors referred to the victim, Joyce Millett, by her initials. JM Anna Millett, accused of killing her mother, is scheduled to return to court. The system meant to protect children failed Ania Day Garrett, who was tragically found beaten and abused. A state agency has cited Harbor Crest Daycare in Euclid for failing to notify county child welfare workers about signs of abuse and neglect. A police report revealed more than a dozen incidents documented by Harbor Crest over the past 2.5 years. The daycare was required by law to report suspected abuse, but according to the state, that didn't happen.
They failed her.
A former worker at the daycare shared that she repeatedly saw Ania with bruises, and the child would say, "Mommy did it." Now, Ania's mother and her boyfriend have been charged with her murder. Michelle Marshall, a daycare employee, had tried to stand up to her boss, raising concerns about the child's well-being.
Did you ever report this to anyone other than Harbor Crest?
No, just only the incident, and the director would say, I filed a report. I filed a report.
Ania's father revealed that he had warned the county about his concerns, telling them his daughter was in danger. Despite his efforts, the system failed to protect her.
I did everything in my power to let them know, that I was a stand-up dad and that my daughter was being harmed and abused at home.
Meanwhile, the state has also reviewed how county child care workers handled Ania's case. The concerns go back years. These issues included inconsistencies in when county caseworkers did or didn't make face-to-face visits with families, among other concerns. The case has sparked protests, and the county has enlisted an outside panel to review it as well. The Ohio Department of Jobs and Family Services revealed that the daycare also failed to inform the state last year when Ania was taken to the hospital for her injuries. This is yet more evidence of how this little girl tragically slipped through the cracks in the system meant to protect her, ultimately leading to her death. Raw emotions filled the Tampa courtroom as a heartbroken family member pleaded with the judge to be tough on convicted killer Xavier Whitehead. Whitehead, who was convicted for the murders of 3 people, faced sentencing and asked the judge for leniency. The day of reckoning has finally come for Whitehead, who was found guilty of killing Derek Archie, Haley Stone, and Xavier Green. Family members of the victims expressed their pain and anger while the court prepared to hand down his sentence.
Every morning I wake up, my soul aches.
Haley Stone's mother, Dana Stone, expressed her deep pain from the daughter of Derek Archie as she emotionally expressed her grief in the courtroom, highlighting the deep loss and pain there is still struggling to cope with the immense void left in her life after losing her son as she continues to grieve and process just beginning, emphasizing the lasting consequences of his actions and the enduring pain felt by the victim. "Forgive you for taking my daughter," Dana Stone said, her voice filled with pain. "But I will tell you, one day you'll stand before God and you will have to answer for what you did." A pregnant girl, Morgan Martin, left her home in St. Petersburg and never returned. Jacoby Flowers, the father of her unborn child, was sentenced to 40 years in prison for her murder, but not before hearing emotional testimony from Morgan's loved ones. As part of his plea agreement, Flowers could have faced only 25 years in prison if investigators had been able to locate Morgan Martin's body before sentencing. Unfortunately, her remains were never found, and as a result, Flowers received a 40-year prison sentence.
She was my child. She was my daughter, and she was so good-hearted.
Leah Martin's emotions swung between uncontrollable grief and intense rage.
And I hope that every day that you sleep, you have to see her. Do you understand me? I hope you see her face.
Those emotions had been building for nearly a decade, and as Leah Martin stared at Jacoby Flowers in court, the man being sentenced for murdering her daughter, Morgan Martin, she could no longer hold back. The years of grief and anguish came pouring out as she confronted the man responsible for her daughter's death.
You didn't only kill my child, you killed your own. You're worthless.
When Jacoby Flowers entered the courtroom, he appeared to be smiling. Before the judge handed down the 40-year sentence, Flowers had the chance to speak from the stand.
There's not a day that goes by in the last 10 years that I haven't felt the deepest level of regret and remorse for my actions.
Jacoby Flowers led investigators to a location in Alabama where he claimed to have buried Morgan Martin's body in 2012. Authorities searched the area for several days, but were unable to find her remains. Despite the setback, St. Petersburg police have said they will not stop looking for Morgan.
Our ultimate goal is to locate Morgan Martin and to bring her home for her family. And as far as I see it, this case is not closed until that happens.
Investigators revealed that text messages between Morgan Martin and Jacoby Flowers showed signs of a troubled relationship. Detectives said Flowers begged Morgan not to have the baby as he was involved in another relationship at the time. Then, one night in 2012, Morgan left her home and never returned. Her mother, Leah Martin, finally felt some sense of relief during the trial, as she had the chance to confront her daughter's killer face to face after years of waiting for justice.
It was good for him to know that I don't forgive him. He shows no grief. He doesn't care. 40 years wasn't enough. But then again, 1,000,000 years wouldn't have been enough for me.
Flowers has been behind bars for the past 6 years, so with time served, he will spend the next 34 years in prison. A mother and daughter who were sentenced to over 30 years in prison for the death of a baby at their daycare are now asking for their convictions to be overturned or for a new trial. Their lawyers brought the case to the New Mexico Supreme Court, claiming that it was simply a tragic accident and the women are facing harsh punishment for it.
I know I will carry this with me every day for the rest of my life.
That was Mary Taylor at her sentencing back in March 2019. She and her daughter, Sandy, were found guilty of the death of Malia Jones and the injuries of Aubrey Loya. Prosecutors believe that in July 2017, the two little girls were left in a hot car for nearly 3 hours while at the Taylor Tots daycare in Portales. Both women apologized to the victims' families during their sentencing.
I want Erica and Kristen and all their family to know that I'm so sorry from the bottom of my heart.
The judge ended up sentencing Mary to 36 years in prison and Sandy to 30 years.
This, as the evidence presented at trial demonstrated, was a day filled with reckless disregard for the safety of the children.
The state Supreme Court heard arguments asking the justices to either overturn Mary and Sandy's convictions or grant them a new trial. Their lawyers argue that no evidence showed the women intentionally left the children in the car. They also claim that prosecutors misinterpreted the definition of child abuse by reckless disregard, which is the charge they were convicted of. The defense maintains that this was a tragic accident. These were the same points raised in the defense's closing arguments.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is not unreasonable to believe that Mary did not know what was going on. She believed the children had been inside, and something happened when Sandy was going to go fax the documents, believing that they'd only been out there for a few moments.
During the sentencing, the victim's family expressed relief and satisfaction in finally getting justice.
Like relieved to know that they are being held accountable.
The surviving child now lives with permanent brain damage. The Supreme Court justices listened to oral arguments from both sides, but they haven't decided yet. As crime rates soared in Albuquerque, Miranda Gilbert symbolized the growing problem. The video of her shooting at a couple on their way to church sparked widespread outrage. She learned that she'd be spending a long time in prison. In court, Miranda appeared very different from the person she was last year, saying she'd had a harsh wake-up call. The couple she shot at hopes she truly means it. She was sentenced to 15 years in federal prison.
Justice was served today, and that's what we came to see. We need that.
Miranda Gilbert threatened Bill and Carolyn Thompson with a gun after they found her in their driveway, likely scoping out their home. Gilbert fired a shot that nearly hit Carolyn, leaving the couple traumatized for life.
Sometimes you don't realize how traumatic something like this is, but it is.
Miranda Gilbert was arrested the day after the shooting, following a chase with U.S. Marshals, during which she tried to ram one of their vehicles. In May, she pled guilty to being a felon in possession of a gun and for assaulting a federal officer. In federal court, the 31-year-old mother of four tearfully asked for forgiveness from the couple she shot at and expressed remorse for her actions. She admitted that drugs had destroyed her life, but claimed she was in a much better place now. In a surprising act of compassion, the Thompsons offered to help her once she completed her sentence.
We can forgive people. We believe in justice. We believe they need to pay for what they do. We're also willing to help them.
Gilbert's family was also present in court, and they broke down in tears when the judge announced her sentence. However, it wasn't the outcome the Thompsons had hoped for.
And being a repeater, offender, I just think they need to be kept behind bars. They don't need to be out, but that's my opinion. The judge has more experience at it, so I'm going to go by his choice on this, I guess.
In court, Gilbert insisted that the gun went off accidentally. She is set to be released from prison in 2033. Before this case, Gilbert had 10 previous convictions, ranging from burglary and car theft to dealing heroin. The district attorney's office had the option to pursue a longer sentence by trying her for the actual shooting, but decided against it. The man accused of helping his son hide the bodies of a pregnant couple, Ramon Preciado, appeared in court, requesting a judge to lower his $600,000 bond for 2 charges. Preciado took the stand. The judge agreed to a slight reduction for one of the bonds, lowering the $500,000 bond for the charge of altering, destroying, or concealing evidence to $350,000. However, Preciado's attorney hoped to reduce it to $100,000. The bond for the charge of abuse of a corpse, set at $100,000, was requested to be reduced to $20,000, but the judge denied that request. During the hearing, Preciado cited inadequate medical care in jail and his cooperation with probation officers in the past as reasons he should be allowed to be released while awaiting trial. He is accused of helping his son, Christopher, hide the bodies of Savannah Soto and Matthew Guerra after his son allegedly shot and killed them during a drug deal. Preciado referred to himself as a good man and expressed his desire to make things right.
When a man changes who he is, he does things right. Things happen and you have to deal with it. And here we are dealing with it. But like the judge is here, I'm here to do right. And I ain't going nowhere because my family's sitting in Barracon, let me tell you. And we're gonna get through this because that's all I know how to do, is survive. And believe me, we will get through this.
If Preciado can post bond, he would be placed under house arrest and required to stay away from the victims' families. The bond for Preciado's wife, who is also accused of helping to hide the couple's bodies, was reduced. However, she remains in the Bexar County Jail. The Oklahoma Department of Corrections is investigating after Amber Hilberling was found dead in her prison cell. Hilberling gained national attention after being convicted for pushing her husband out of their Tulsa apartment. Just 3 years ago, she was sentenced to 25 years for second-degree murder after prosecutors said she pushed her husband, Josh Hilberling, from the 25th floor of their apartment in 2011. At the time, Hilberling, who was pregnant, claimed the push occurred during an argument and that she never intended to kill him. The Department of Corrections reported that Hilberling was pronounced dead yesterday afternoon at the Mabel Bassett Correctional Center. Her defense attorney, Clark Brewster, shared that prison officials had contacted her mother to inform her of the tragic news, leaving the family devastated. This is the home of Linda Kasuda Bagazzi on Smith Lane in Burlington, the same place where she bludgeoned her husband to death with in 2017. After the murder, she wrapped his decomposing body in a rug and left it in the basement. Police returned to the home and discovered another body.
I order transfer to body in New Britain.
The last time Linda Kosuda Bagazzi appeared in court was in March. The 76-year-old had pleaded guilty to killing her husband, a health professor, in 2017. After the murder, she continued to collect his paychecks.
It was like a kick in the gut.
Bonnie O'Neill, who lives across the street, has been closely following the developments in the case.
I wasn't expecting, really, that she would kill herself.
Bonnie O'Neill watched as state police arrived in her normally quiet Smith Lane neighborhood in Burlington around 11 a.m. It was the same day Linda Kosuda Bagazzi was scheduled to be sentenced for her crime in court.
Yes, we wanted her to be punished if she truly did this, which she admitted to.
Linda was facing a 13-year prison sentence. However, state police confirmed that the body they found inside the home this time was Linda's.
If I was walking down to get the mail, she would turn around and go back to the house until I got the mail and came in. So there was no interaction after the fact.
Neighbors shared that since Linda was released on bail, several frightened families moved out of the neighborhood. Bonnie, her neighbor, said she has no doubt in her mind that Linda killed her husband.
He seemed to be the domineering one, that he was a quieter, like a little Italian man. I'm sorry, but that's, yeah. But she was opinionated.
In a statement, Linda's attorney described her as a very independent woman who was always in control of her own destiny. Her husband, Pierluigi Bagazzi, was 84 years old when he was killed in 2017. State police have not yet disclosed the manner of Linda's death, leaving it to the Office of the Chief Medical Examiner to determine the exact cause. On September 17, 2019, police discovered a partially consumed victim and a humanoid beast in a Rochester Hills apartment. The court has now decided the fate of Allison Weaver, who was sentenced for the cannibalistic attack in the woman's apartment. As the victim recounted the horrifying story in court, everyone was shocked, and the news quickly spread across the media. Let's hear what the victim had to say.
Okay. Good morning, Your Honor. Okay.
And I do have to hear your service.
On September 16th, 2019, my life changed forever. I let Allison Thompson Weaver in my home, and in return, she tried to kill me. If the police hadn't shown up when they did, from neighbors calling 911, I wouldn't be here today. I have some memories of the attack that night, like bits and pieces of a horror movie. First of waking up in my own bed to find her in some animal-like crawling position, ready to pounce on me. Her strangling me, the expression on her face, until I was unconscious. The extreme pain I felt as I regained consciousness and could not move from being beaten and literally eaten alive from head to toe. I knew in my head what was happening to me, and I couldn't do a thing about it. And then she whispered the words, "You have to die." I begged her, "I'll do anything you want." But she laughed and replied, "It's too late," and began strangling me again a second time. This time, I saw my loved ones flash before my eyes. And I saw a bright light, and I saw the end of my life. That's all I remember until the hospital. I do remember seeing pure evil in her eyes, though, and I truly believe nothing can save her. Every hour of every day, I deal with excruciating pain because of what she did to me and the countless bite wounds, including my and I have permanent nerve damage all over my face and body. She bit off my ear and literally consumed parts of me, like my cheek, for instance. The pain in my neck, shoulder, and back, even with physical therapy, is only getting worse. I have been trying to avoid more surgeries if possible than I've already had. Talking about this does not fully express my emotions. The hundreds of pictures of what she did to me are absolutely horrendous and disgusting to look at. I am unrecognizable in those photos. And they just begin to show what this cannibalistic rapist put me through, all the while with a smile on her face. I'm learning to live with the pain and countless scars, as well as the countless stares I receive. But what is scaring me is the nonstop visions of her demon eyes killing me, and the fact that she will try to do this again someday. No one knows why she chose me to be her victim that night. The doctors at the hospital said it was nothing short of a miracle that I survived that attack that night. In closing, I don't think it's fair that she has taken so much away from me that I can never get back. She stole a part of me. She broke a part of me. She took away my sense of safety and trust, and so much more. Everything that this thing has done to me deserves more than 10 to 15 years behind bars. I will be living with these problems, pains, images, and fears for the rest of my life.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I can't address you by your name out of respect, but what you did was important, and I appreciate you standing by that. And I appreciate you being here. It was critical, and hopefully you can move on. I hope your physical and emotional pain does ease somewhat. I know it's hard to say, but I do wish you the very best. Thank you again for helping me.
And I think there was a resolution that was worked out in this case to all the original charges that the defendant faced, to the maximum penalty that she can get on those charges. I've had obviously a number of conversations with the victim in this case about that resolution and ultimately getting to that resolution. I still believe that it is the best ultimate outcome for this case and for everyone involved. And I'm asking the court, having heard all that right after the PSI, to still follow the kill agreement in this case, Your Honor.
Ms. Weaver, do you have anything to say today?
I would
address me.
I would like to apologize to the victim and to her family, and also to my family as well. I do feel really, really horrible about what happened. I wish I could take it away.
Do you have any idea why you did what you did that night? Were you under any other influence but, I think it's marijuana, but also alcohol?
I think other than some prescription medication.
Prescription medication. Have you ever done anything like this? The victim started off, her statement was, it was like being in a horror movie. And I wrote that down because when I reviewed the PSI, and I had to read it a few times because I couldn't believe what I was reading. And then when I talked to Mr. Cabot about it, first thing out of his mouth was, it was like reading a script for a horror movie. I can't even imagine what you were going through. I've never seen any pictures from it or any photographs, and I can't imagine what the scene looked like. And I've never ever understood anyone being violent toward another human being. But I've said it, which I've never said twice in the same way, but I've been up here for 25 years, and I've seen murder cases that were not nearly as violent as this case. And I can't imagine psychologically where you were in doing this to her, and the excuses that were made for it. And then this was the first time I saw the medical records in terms of all the wounds on her body and her face and her genitalia. horrific is not even the word for it. I mean, what man suffers unto man, we've all heard that before, but this is an abomination. And the strength that you showed, ma'am, in showing up here today and making your statement is amazing, and I appreciate it. And you should know how strong you are, that you're able to come up here and say your piece. Many others could not have done that. And I hope you use that strength to go forward. And don't let her make you any less than what you are. And that is an incredibly strong human being who has amazing support. I've said this before. I've read all those letters. You have an amazing support system who only want the very best for you. And I do wish you everything to become as completely healthy as possible in every way. And thank you again for being here. Thank you. I know you want more time than has been bargained by the prosecutor's office. But understand what was bargained for, the guidelines are lower than the group. In other words, they bargained for a higher sentence than I would have to had to give reasons to go higher than the guidelines. And that's not necessary here because there was an agreement for it. And I think this is the correct resolution to this particular matter. Because I don't think that these charges would ever have intended to reflect what actually happened here. These charges are not what was seen here. So in some ways, it's a gift what these charges are. It could have been worse. And I'm glad it wasn't worse for you physically. So I will follow the guidance the case in this matter. And I do set the court, having reviewed the probation department's report and recommendation following the killing, we just sentence you 10 years to 15 years in the Michigan Department of Corrections, 34 days jail credit. Count 2, counts 3, 4, and 5, 57 months to 10 years in the Michigan Department of Corrections, 34 days jail credit, $60 DNA cost, $100 by victim's fee, $270 state cost, premise fees to be determined. Comply with DNA testing, HIV testing, sex offender registration requirements, no contact. I'll just say with the victim in this matter, the name will be on the report.
Thank you, Judge.
In any manner whatsoever. You have 42 days to effect certain appeals. You cannot afford an attorney. One will be appointed before I appeal by leave. This is a plea. Mr. Lynch, if you could please acknowledge Paul's rights. Mr. Lynch, if you could please acknowledge Paul's rights.
I will, Judge. So acknowledge. May we approach this very briefly?
Certainly.
Sorry about that, Judge.
I guess now there's some rule where you're not supposed to say attorney fees to be declared, but it's not supposed to be. Okay, I just remember seeing email, so I thought that was part of it.
Judge, I just realized when we went through the jail credit that on the face sheet of the PSI itself, not the sentence recommendation page, where it lists the final charges, it does say jail credit for 33 days. I think to comport with the Department of Corrections recommendation, that should be 34.
We'll make that change, Your Honor.
Thank you.
What page?
It's just the face sheet.
Second page.
Oh, okay.
In the case of Allison Weaver, the court sentenced her for the cannibalistic attack in Rochester Hills. She received a life sentence without the possibility of parole. In September 2021, in Nassau County, Patrick McDowell fatally shot Officer Joshua Moyers during a traffic stop. The case became even more intense with emotional courtroom testimony from the defendant. After the incident, the accused reportedly couldn't sleep peacefully, according to his ex-wife.
I had a hard pregnancy. I was really sick. And he let me sleep while he drove. And he nudged me and woke me up. And he said, "Babe, wake up, wake up." And he's like, "I just need you to talk to me because I'm seeing things."
And were you worried about Patrick's mental health at that time?
Yes, ma'am.
And he said he was not going back to jail.
Yes, sir.
As the defendant begins speaking about his crime, everyone else falls silent, and the entire court listens closely to his words.
I want to preface it by saying that a lot of this is a rehash of what I said during my earlier testimony, but a lot of it isn't. And I'll be honest, it's a little inflammatory and it's a little more angry language than what I said before. Also, some of it's pretty graphic, but my intent here is to give you the full information, my mind state. I don't think that sitting and listening to everybody try to excuse what I did and try to minimize all of the things that were going through my mind and what was affecting me at the time is the right thing to do. So, against my attorney's advice, I'm going to clarify a lot of things, and I know it's probably not going to have a good effect on my case, but this is something that I need to do, so I'm just going to go ahead and read this. First, I want to say to Deputy Moyer's loved ones and fellow officers, I'm sorry for what I've taken from you. I wish more than anything I could bring him back, and if my death could have done it, I would have made that trade years ago. We wouldn't be here today. This is not a plea for sympathy or for my life, so bear with me, please. This is a statement of truth because I believe I owe it to all of you people that I've hurt. I can't give back what I've taken, but I can try to help you understand why this happened and help you get the justice you deserve. Listen to everyone try to make sense of what I did, explain it away, and blame it on anything but me and my selfish disregard for that man's life. And it's made me sick to think of letting others speak for me without doing the right thing and speaking to all of you like this myself. I killed a hero, a deputy who was doing his job and doing it so well that he took one look at me and knew I was up to no good for no other reason than I wanted to get away and be left alone. He should have left me alone. He shouldn't have followed me, and he should have backed off when he sensed that something was wrong. He was clearly not the kind of man to allow bad people in stolen cars full of stolen guns and drugs, people with active warrants who were so high that reality and conscience were abstract concepts, run around in his community unchecked. Instead, he put himself in harm's way between a criminal and the people he swore to protect, which is between me and all of you. And for that, I shot him and I left him there to die. There's no worse tragedy, no worse crime, and no worse person than the creature who is capable of doing something so brutal to a good man. I do not deserve to live a long life in a place full of people who will praise and revere me as a cop killer. I deserve what I gave him. He deserved better, but I do not. Let me be clear. This is not a plea for my life or for my death. This is a plea for justice for Deputy Moyers and his family. I've listened to the same witnesses, the same experts, the same evidence as all of you have. And I'm not convinced. Nothing I've heard in this courtroom mitigates the fact that I decided months before the shooting that I'd never again make the mistake I made when I was arrested in Georgia, in a van full of stolen guns and drugs again, mind you, and let the police take me, that I would kill whoever tried if I had to, that I went around with this mindset all the time and followed through when it happened. I decided I would kill him if he tried to take me to jail before I even got into the van at the gas station. I lured him toward a dark, secluded area, and when he blue lighted me, I kept going until I found a good spot. I kept the van in drive with my foot on the brake. I brass checked my pistol before situating it in a concealed spot with quick, easy access. I tried to lie my way to freedom. When that didn't work and it became clear he was going to try and take me, I shot him in the T-box and leaned out to dead check him with 2 more well-aimed shots to his spinal column, and I left him there in the street, brain dead and bleeding, for his friends to find. I never once considered his life at all. I just killed him to get away. I want you to consider the message you're sending to all the would-be cop killers like me out there, and not to encourage the senseless killings of your protectors like this. Don't show them that killing a cop is a viable option if they want to escape arrest with only the minimum penalty if caught. Someone killed my stepdad, my brother, and my friends who are cops in such a cold, selfish, and callous way, I'd want them dead, and to hell with whatever excuses they present to explain it away. I can't live with the thought of the murder I've committed being overshadowed by my life, my military service, my traumatic experiences, or my drug use. I don't want to die. But why should what I want matter? I let this trial go on because I thought maybe I could be convinced that I don't deserve a harsh sentence, but I was wrong. I gave my testimony and I listened to people comment that I'm remorseful, so I should be allowed to live, and that sickens me. Now it's okay because I feel bad about it. Make no mistake, I am sorry and I hate myself for what I did, but that's simply not enough to outweigh the aggravators by any imaginable standard. The Moyers family deserves justice. Ivy Carter deserves justice. Deputy Moyers himself and his fellow officers deserve justice. I don't want your mercy, and I definitely don't deserve it. I can't take away the pain I've caused, but I can pay for it, so make me pay for it.
On September 24th, 2021, I woke up to a phone call at 3 a.m. from my dad. I listened as he told me that Josh was shot and about the damage that had been done to his spinal cord and his brain. Completely in shock, I just pulled out my suitcase and started packing my clothes. I saw my black suit, I picked it up, and I put it in my suitcase. And then I turned around and I removed it and put it back in my closet because there wasn't any way that he wasn't going to pull through. And then I got another phone call. And my dad had to tell me that my brother wasn't going to survive being shot. I still remember that moment vividly. I didn't even know it was possible to feel so much grief as in that moment. As my legs literally gave out underneath me, as I screamed and cried on the floor, sobbing until I had to pick myself up off the ground and frantically call every friend I had until someone picked up and could help me get a flight back home. I tried to do it myself, but I couldn't even see straight. That's not the last time either. Months later, I would be getting ready for work in the morning. I would suddenly find myself again on the floor, sobbing and crying out again, after remembering how he was. Or it would happen again when completely overwhelmed, thinking about all the things I never got to tell him, that I'll never get to tell him, because the last time I actually talked to him, he was in a coma, moments before his heart stopped beating, waiting for his organs to be harvested. Or again, thinking about the decades of Christmases and Thanksgivings, he'll not only be absent, but that all anybody will be able to think about is him being brutally murdered. Or thinking about the long and happy life with his beautiful fiancée Ivy that he'll never get to see. I had to quit my job because of this, after dozens of times of just having to walk out the door because I couldn't help but break down yet again. It's not even to mention how I completely being incapable of holding down a job caused my family tens of thousands of dollars and made me feel so shameful that I could no longer provide for myself. And even now, talking about this, I feel shame. Guilty that I'm allowed to sit here, surrounded by my remaining family, and complain about all the ways that Josh being murdered has made my life harder and caused me pain, when he doesn't get to experience anything else ever again. He'll never get to experience his marriage with Ivy, finish working on the house that he poured his blood, sweat, and tears into, hug his parents, laugh and joke with his friends. He had so much of his life left in front of him. There are too many ways that this has been horrible to mention them all. Watching my parents suffer through the loss of their son, who they poured their hearts and souls and lives into raising and loving. And even the good memories aren't what they were. In the same moment, I think about the time we spent playing in the woods by the house. I think about holding his limp hand, trying desperately to tell him things he couldn't hear. Thoughts of us waking up early on Christmas morning, or playing together in the pool, or riding four-wheelers in the woods together, are now always shared with thoughts of how Josh was killed. It's so horrible that it ruins everything. When Josh was murdered, this community lost a great cop, a civil servant who cared for people, for his community, and for making it a better place. I'm not the only one sharing in this loss. And when Josh was murdered, I lost my brother, and it has torn every aspect of my life into shreds.
Big factors, we, the jury, unanimously find that the state has proven the following aggravating factors beyond a reasonable doubt as to the defendant, Patrick McDowell, in this case. Number one, Patrick McDowell was previously convicted of a felony and was on felony probation at the time he committed the first-degree murder in this case. Checked yes. Number two, Patrick McDowell was previously or contemporaneously convicted of a felony involving the use or threat of violence to another person. Checked yes. Number three, the first-degree murder was committed for the purpose of avoiding or preventing a lawful arrest or effecting an escape from custody. Checked yes. Number 4, the first-degree murder was committed in a cold, calculated, and premeditated manner without any pretense of moral or legal justification. Checked yes. Number 5, Joshua Moyers was a law enforcement officer engaged in the performance of his official duties. Checked yes. If you answered yes to at least one of the aggravating factors listed above, please proceed on to section B. B, weighing process. Having unanimously found that at least one aggravating factor has been established beyond a reasonable doubt in section A above, and having conducted the weighing process as instructed, which requires determining whether sufficient aggravating factors exist and whether those aggravating factors outweigh the mitigating circumstances before making an individual decision as to the sentence, we, the jury, by the indicated vote and number, find that the defendant, Patrick McDowell, should be sentenced as follows. Indicate the number of jurors for life imprisonment without the possibility of parole. 1. Indicate the number of jurors for death. 11. We, the jury, understand that if there are 8 or more votes for death, then the jury's recommendation is for a sentence of death, and if there are fewer than 8 votes for death, then the jury's recommendation is for a sentence of life without the possibility of parole. So we say this 25th day of April 2024 for person number 58.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. I'd like the jury to be polled.
We would, Your Honor.
Do you, juror number 6, agree that the decisions as read by the clerk accurately reflects what the jury decided? Do you, juror number 8, agree that the decisions as read by the clerk accurately reflects what the jury decided? Do you, juror number 9, agree that the decisions as read by the clerk accurately reflects what the jury decided?
I do.
Do you, juror number 23, agree that the decisions as read by the clerk accurately reflects what the jury decided?
I do.
Do you, juror number 30, agree that the decisions as read by the clerk accurately reflects what the jury decided? Do you, juror number 44, agree that the decisions as read by the clerk accurately reflects what the jury decided? Do you, juror number 49, agree that the decisions as read by the clerk accurately reflects what the jury decided? Do you, juror number 58, agree that the decisions as read by the clerk accurately reflects what the jury decided?
I do.
Do you, juror number 63, agree that the decisions as read by the clerk accurately reflects what the jury decided?
I do.
Do you, juror number 73, agree that the decisions as read by the clerk accurately reflects what the jury decided?
I do.
Do you, juror number 79, agree that the decisions as read by the clerk accurately reflects what the jury decided?
I do.
And do you, juror number 85, agree that the decisions that's read by the clerk accurately reflects what the jury decided?
I do.
Again, thank you, Madam Clerk. Ladies and gentlemen, I wish to thank you for your time and consideration of this case. I also wish to advise you of some very special privileges enjoyed by jurors. No juror can ever be required to talk about the discussions that occurred in the jury room except by court order. For many centuries, our society has relied on juries for consideration of difficult cases. We have recognized for hundreds of years that a jury's deliberations, discussions, and votes should remain their private affair as long as they wish it. Therefore, the law gives you a unique privilege not to speak about the jury's work. Although you are at liberty to speak with anyone about your deliberations, you are also at liberty to refuse to speak to anyone. A request to discuss either your verdict or your deliberations may come from those who are simply curious, and those who might seek to find fault with you, from the media, from the attorneys, or elsewhere. It will be up to you to decide whether to preserve your privacy as a juror.
Patrick McDowell has filed a motion for a life sentence. Isaiah Hemphill has been sentenced for his involvement in the 2017 shooting that led to the death of Justin Penland.
Mr. Welty contacted Justin Penland, set up a deal to buy marijuana from him. All 4 co-defendants knew that once they did contact Mr. Penland, that they would be robbing him. Jonte Williams was the driver of the car. He blocked Mr. Penland in. At that point in time, Mr. Hemphill took a gun from Jonte Williams, got out of the car, shot Justin Penland in the head one time. He died almost immediately on the scene.
In question, he was under the influence of a mixture of drugs, marijuana, crack, ecstasy, and liquor, which are not offered as an excuse, but would explain his impulsive and rash action on that day.
Attempted armed robbery. The sentence of the court is to be committed to state law correction for a period of 20 years. Sentences run concurrent, credit for 216 days. Voluntary manslaughter. The sentence of the court is to be committed to the state law correction for a period of 20 years. Sentence run concurrent and credit for 216 days. Possession of a weapon during the commission of a violent crime. The sentence of the court is to be committed to the state Department of Correction for a period of 5 years. The sentence is run concurrent, credit for 216 days. Good luck to you. Thank you.
But the state is asking for 10 years based on the fact that they did cooperate. And without the three of them cooperating, Isaiah Hemphill probably would never have been arrested and would never have been held accountable for his actions, which ultimately
Very likely would not have been convicted.
Would not have been convicted, would not have been arrested. But for the three of them providing his name and the details of that, I don't know that the state would have ever been able to ascertain who actually pulled the trigger, because there was nothing linking him to the crime scene. There's no other forensics, there's no fingerprint, there's no DNA. Other than their statements, there would be nothing tying him to the crime scene.
Are you indeed guilty of attempted armed robbery?
Yes, Your Honor.
Guilty of obstruction of justice?
Yes, Your Honor.
Guilty of possession with intent to distribute marijuana?
Yes, Your Honor.
Guilty of unlawful carrying of a pistol?
Yes, Your Honor.
Guilty of possession of a handgun by a person under the age of 18?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Welt, are those facts that have been related to the court truth?
Yes, Your Honor, most guilty.
Are you indeed guilty of obstruction of justice?
Yes, Your Honor.
Guilty of attempted armed robbery?
Yes, Your Honor.
And are you guilty of possession with intent to distribute marijuana first offense?
Yes, Your Honor.
October 26, 2017 is a day that will forever haunt me and my family. I will never forget the feeling of my heart leaving my chest when I saw the man that I love and the father of my children laying in a hospital bed, lifeless. This past Sunday was Father's Day, and instead of his daughters making him cards and breakfast in bed and celebrating what a great father they had, they sent balloons to heaven with tears in their eyes.
It appalls me that a 27-year-old man would approach a 17-year-old kid on the street and ask him if he wanted to buy drugs. That led up to all the other things that we've heard about here today. For one bad decision after another by many people, including Mr. Penland, and my heart breaks for you. It really does. I'm so sorry.
I just want to say that I'm more than sorry for Justin and his family. I pray for Justin's family every single day and night for them to keep strength and for our dear Lord to watch over them. I shed tears almost every night for Justin and his family.
I'd like to say that I'm honestly sorry that what happened. I didn't know what happened was going to happen. That's all.
Isaiah Hemphill received a 20-year prison sentence. Sean Allen Welt, who is 18, was sentenced to 10 years, while Donovan Kendrick Allen, also 18, will serve 9 years. On July 15, 2013, in Madison, Jesse Blodgett became a victim of Daniel Bartelt, a brutal killer. His appearance in court provoked intense reactions from Jesse's family. After hearing his statement, the court struggled to decide whether he was mentally ill or simply beyond understanding.
Buck, Joy, I can't give you the answers that you're looking for. You say how you count the days and the hours, and I do too. I have every day. There's no hiding from yourself in a tiny concrete cell. I have a disgustingly innate ability to lie to myself that I've exercised far too many times in my life. But I refuse to hurt someone other than myself by doing that. This jumpsuit that I'm wearing, these shackles that I'm put in, don't make me guilty. And I know there's evidence that I can't refute that would make you believe that I am guilty. I know that you feel I may have enjoyed how painful this process was for some of you, and at my worst, I've had that quality. I've made terrible mistakes along that line, but the only reason that I went to trial at all is because I was told I would not be allowed to make an Alford plea, to acknowledge that I couldn't refute the evidence and just accept sentencing without saying that I'd done something I hadn't. If I could have done that, I wouldn't have put any of you through this or my family.
Judge Martins, for what you represent, I'm not trying to be combative, but I don't know whether I should fear you or loathe you. I struggle to understand someone who has, that any human should be given the ability to condemn his fellow man. But I do know that I pity you. I don't blame you for any of this, and I think you've been extremely fair given what you have to work with. I can't prove that I'm innocent to anyone, not even myself. I can't prove that Jessie was a beautiful person, though she was, and I still remember her. I can't prove that a sun that I haven't seen for over 400 days still even rises and sets, but I like to believe that it does. Buck, again, I think it's incredible that such ugliness has begotten such beauty, and I've seen that from your entire family. I saw that the day after Jessie died when I was with you. I pray for you, for all of you, and I hope that, I believe that someday I will be before a court that will know that my conscience is pure. I love you, and I'm so sorry for your loss.
Daniel Bartelt was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Big thanks to our viewers for joining the courtroom journey with us. Your interest in the stories of justice is what keeps our channel alive.